Hello and welcome to the DFS_PhD show for today, the 22nd of July. Remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. Sometimes it's not us. It was a frustrating British Open Championship, whatever we're supposed to call it. It was the closest I've been to a million since Highsmith. It was frustrating. So after day one, I was in fourth in the Millie. Uh, this is the lineup. I'll just let everyone know. Obviously, I was not feeling good about it at the time. Scheffler, Lowry, McIntyre, Thomas, Straka, Henley. Obviously, day two, not great, but everybody makes the cut. Day three, everybody makes a push. Again, sim ROI after day three is like 5, 6, 7, 8,000. Stays that way the whole time to the point where like going into the back nine, I'm like looking at SaberSim has contest specific features, and I'm like, I want to know what was my actual chance to win $1 million right now. It's like 0.3% chance going into the turn of the last nine for the last group. And then what happened? I was like, okay, cool. It's got all sorts of features here. Biggest fade, Xander Schauffele. Neat. Good to know that. Ah, nope. Wasn't good to know that. That was like right before he went on a streak of 6 out of 9 birdies. Everybody else playing those holes 2 over or something. Anyway, just completely frustrating. And I mean, like, even though I won, it wasn't a bad result. I still won money. But like, when you get that excited about when you feel like something's going your way, and then just like worst case scenario, just keep on the last day. It's very frustrating. But as always, this is sponsored by PredictionStrike. You can use promo code PhD. Jamario is always dropping good lines in every weekend. I'm using them. I'm making money. We're up 3 units now, and yeah, about a unit a month. So we're grinding away. If I would just use higher stakes, problem is I'm only using like 2 units on a person but I gotta think about like I want my delta to be a unit. So anyway, I gotta change that a little bit. Okay, so let's do a little review because baseball slate. What else are we gonna do? Tell you I'm not gonna predict the future. I'm not a magician. I'm gonna tell you a few things about the slate, and I'll tell you about the last slate. So the last slate, the winner of the 50,000 used 48.8 thousand. So we've seen this a couple times now. Congratulations to you if this works out. You can leave up to $2,000. Like maybe this was a late swap. Yeah, you got a standalone late game here. Well, we got J-Rod, maybe Robles starting in the second spot unexpectedly or something. I don't know exactly how you get to this lineup with so much on the table, but it's in play. You got to leave when you're having these late swaps. Number one, it's baseball season. The one thing you should definitely be doing is late swapping. I mean, like I say, might as well be us, and I focus on not winning thousands of dollars in golf because I'm like a sad sack. I did get very lucky and win $1,000 at Sims the very same day. So I should tell you, like, someone's got to win that money. It might as well be us. I'm just not going to tell you how to win Sims because, like, how do I explain? Like, I mean, I'm vibing, dude. That's like I watch all the Sims and I'm vibing. That's entirely my strategy. I'll tell you more in the chat, but like I'm not. I don't have a system. I don't have projections. I am vibing. So like on the first game, my vibe was rocking for the both lineups did pretty well, but one of them was clearly the best, and it was attached to some pretty bad other lineups. So like it was like Quez and I don't know, Jalen Hurts, some obviously like up and down players. And so what I'm saying is you got to, when you see yourself in pole position, you need to swap. Do not take more risk than you need to. Go to whatever the chalk is. If your lineup has 180 points and like you're doing something weird with like $1,000 on the table, don't do that. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Always be swapping, number one, programmatically, ideally, with like SaberSim or something. Always be swapping every window, like, 4 o'clock, maybe not 4 to 4:15, 4:20, whatever, but 4, 5, 6:30, those different time swaps, at least 3 different swaps in MLB, because it's like the Monty Hall problem. If you don't know the problem, look it up. It can be your fun lesson for the day. But swapping is like, I don't know much about baseball, but the one thing you must be doing is taking advantage of all the information you get in baseball. You must be looking at the weather and you must be swapping. Once you know your guys are doing bad, you can't play the chalk in that lineup or you're going to be covered by 1,000 lineups, right? You understand math, you understand how that works. You cannot play chalk teams, you cannot play chalk dudes. You must leave money on the table. You must, if you're going to play chalk dudes, or you must play a weird stack. You got to get different somehow for that lineup to have a chance. So that's what you're doing when you're late swapping. If you're a contender already. You're jamming the chalk. You're covering outs. You don't want the obvious outs to kill you. You don't want freaking Aaron Judge to go off, and you're like, oh, Aaron Judge, wow, I should have had some Aaron. Yes, you should have had some Aaron Judge. Don't be anyway. So don't go with your original builds. This is like a Monty Hall problem with it's like the example of the Monty Hall problem people give you to prove that it's good. It's like, here's what if there were 1,000 doors of possibilities and we showed you all of the ones it wasn't. That's what's happening. We're seeing via the games exactly how every person on your team is performing. Change your teams. At least look at it. I mean, you don't have to. If you're, in a pretty solid minimum, maximum, whatever local pool thing you like, you don't have to change, but consider it. You must consider the situation you are in, right? Consider the situation you're in. That's all I'm saying for swaps. All right. So I've yelled at you about swaps. Hopefully you're doing them, right? Like I do not mess around. It's very easy in SaberSim. There's no excuse. There's no like, oh, I'm picking up my kid. Yeah, I'm picking up my kid too. For real, not a problem to swap. What am I doing? 170 lineups. It's very easy in SaberSim. Number one, these lineups are just nonsense, right? Like, don't look at any actual lineup that pops up. You're gonna have so many people out or whatever. That's why I don't talk about batters here. I'm making this too early in the day. This is kind of strategy, pitchers, and I do like my favorite thing SaberSim does is allowing you to fiddle with the projected run total, and then it takes a subset of their game sims that matches your projected run total. It doesn't so you get essentially custom game sims built for you when you tweak the run totals. So I love to tweak the run totals, even though obviously if my changes of the run totals do not work out, I am in trouble, right? But if they do, now granted, this is like taking like one, two, three, four, five overs and six overs and one, two, three, four, five unders. So you only have to do two changes, right? Or whatever the minimum number of changes is. Do it to taste. I've told you guys the way I'm doing it. I'm doing it with Ballpark Pal. I've tested various combinations last summer. It didn't seem to matter. So the thing I'm building in this year to try to like get the ghost in the machine thing from basketball, where I keep winning, and Sims, where I keep winning and I'm hand building, I got to get my leans in there. And so, I talk about in my other videos and like the standalone or like evergreen videos, having your council of dudes, having your process. But at the end of the day, you need to make the selection. These are all different parts, right? Number one, you're listening to somebody like me. I'm listening to somebody, actually in baseball, nobody, but you could listen to anybody. And then you're synthesizing the information, and then you're making the call. So that's what happens. Sometimes you get these optimizers, and you put numbers in, and then you click buttons, and you're not making the call enough. So that's why I don't. If you are a person who has a magic number projection thing you like to do, I would encourage you to, at some point in the process, like I do here, I don't just pipe in Ballpark Pal's numbers to SaberSim's game projections. I take sometimes an average, sometimes I don't take it, sometimes I enhance it, sometimes I leave it alone. I look at it, I'm like, man, this isn't Coors Field, and we've got 5.5 for the Red Sox today. I took that because an under for the Red Sox at Coors Field, if it hits, I'll be a millionaire, right? Whatever the equivalent is on today's slate. I'm just trying to grind out $1,000 win in baseball to get my free months. By the way, if you did the golf thing all summer, it paid for itself, right? Like, so you get a free month of Ultimate, which is $300. I'm only paying $100 a month. There's 3 months of golf, so I get anyway. It paid for itself for me to do the 20 max every week in golf. Also, because I almost won it this week, but anyway, it was very fun to do. I encourage you all to use SaberSim. There's a reason why my logo is always SaberSim. It's because the money, like last month I paid for, or last year in 2000 and whatever last year was, 23. You probably should know that. But anyway, I only paid for 2.5 months out of 12. I mean, granted, that was the year I won so much money, but that wasn't just the one big 100,000, right? Like I won two other tens and a couple other thousands along the way. So like, yeah, I mean, I think you get multiple months off for like the 100Ks. Yeah, you get three for the 100K. And then I think you get maybe two for or maybe a month of Ultimate or something. Whatever it was. Yeah, it was like 3 months. I don't remember even how the math worked out, but they're not stingy. They want you to come and do well and show off how good SaberSim is. And I encourage you all to use SaberSim. I don't get any money for it, so I can't say they're a sponsor of the video. They're explicitly not a sponsor, but allowing me to talk about them. So thank you, SaberSim. I do love SaberSim. I mean, they made me a professional of this. I was already like semi-pro or whatever, but to be able to mess around like I'm about to tell you, I'm messing around with these things. So let me tell you how I messed around with these games. What were the overs? What were the unders? Boston under, that's fine. It's in Coors Field, but what was the ballpark? What was the other MLB weather? So you should always check the weather. Everything was yellow or green today, so I didn't really make any changes because he'll send an update. You should also have notifications on for whatever Kevin Roth weather or equivalent dude if you have a different weather soothsayer. Obviously, I don't, I'm not a meteorologist. But basically, if the winds shift or whatever, it's like in the Scottish Open, or yeah, but that too. But the Open Championship, you can use the early wave scoring to pick the late wave picks, right? Like you can inform that. And so anyway, that was fun. So we don't really have anything. We can't say. Oh yeah, what was the Colorado weather though? So I wanted to see wind blowing in. Okay. I was trying to figure out why we were nerfing Boston here. I'm fine with it. I'll be a little bit under the field on Boston, a little bit under the field on Houston, fair amount under the field on Houston. Yeah, I just don't, not a great matchup for them. Let's see. Don't make the catch. Oh, sorry. I'm watching the early game. I would imagine that'll be a dropped foul ball error. Yeah. Yeah, there's a guy almost hits him in the head with his hat, so maybe not. Okay, so Seattle, yeah, who are my lineups? I'm gonna jam here. Philly, I'm jamming Philly, I'm jamming Angels, I'm jamming Seattle. That's an awful lot of Angels. Now that I'm saying that, because so we use pool in SaberSim, we use pool exposure to be like, assuming everybody uses similar methods, that will give you roughly what the field is doing. So I don't want to be like 4x the field on the Angels. They're fine, but like, I'll have 2x the field leverage and laugh my way all the way to the bank if whatever weird thing happens and they score points. I don't need to take that big of a risk pro Angels. Okay, so everything else we're matching the field. Seattle matching the field. Boston, yep, over the field. Milwaukee over the field. Philly. I like the pricing on those batters I saw. It's just a lot of value in those games. Besides that, what do we got? Who are my big fades? Big fade Houston, yep. Big fade Boston, yep. Um, Big fade Cincinnati. Is that in Cincinnati? No. Yeah, it's in Atlanta. That's fine. Cincinnati will be priced from playing in Cincinnati, and they're playing in a ballpark that's worse. That's great. I like that. That's fine. All right, I like all these plays. On stack side, I'd already looked at this a little bit, but now just double checking. I never like this mode where you can't see the players who are out just in case they've added a pitcher or something. I don't want to miss out. Like, who's my top pitcher? Bailey Ober. Yeah, I don't need to have any. If y'all are getting to 11% Ober, I'll just let you have them. My dude's a pitcher. Greene, Arrighetti, Ragans. Just high scoring dudes. Kind of unowned, Arrighetti. I guess he's got a weird name, but he's going against Oakland, and like I think he's going to get it together. I'm fine with this. Reagan's flamethrower, Reynaldo, flamethrower. These are the guys with upside. You know the upside. If you don't know the upside, go over here to their names, click on them. You'll see the upside. This is their game sims. It's roughly indicative of let's see. What's the way to put this in a if you ran this same game a million times, how would they or 10,000, however many they actually run it, what distribution of outcomes would you get for the guys? So, yeah, for Arrighetti, he's going to score a lot of points. Like for sure. He's a pitcher who throws like strikeouts and stuff. So, I don't get it. We've got most correlation with Arrighetti. I'm curious about that. Yeah, exactly. Hitters on the other team negatively correlated 30%. That's interesting. Just 30%. I guess I was thinking it'd be more like 0.6 or 7, but a hitter can get to their value relatively quickly. I don't know. I'm just a little surprised these correlations are not more negative. I mean, we have in SaberSim another way that I do restrict hitters, which is in lineup rules. On a slate this size, yeah, I should click don't use batters against opposing pitchers. It's just, you don't need to. Eventually, on the swaps, you can maybe allow it, but you don't need to before the swaps. And you saw I was leaving 300 on the table, but based on our review of the last slate, you know, I think up to 500 is probably fine. Second place was 500. Third place was 200 on the table. A 3-2 stack. Ugh. Well, that's why I don't restrict stacks. So leave them in there. But geez, 3-2. Yikes. It's like so many independent events. That's why I'm doing the ooh, yikes, right? Because it's like 4 different games full of stacks you needed to pop off. And that's 4. I don't know. I'm not a when it comes to DFS, I am not trying to build parlays. I am trying to do two things. Like I'm trying to minimize the number of legs in the parlay because people don't. People just like bull, 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 pop in like 8 guys, right? It's so stupid. That's like a 9-leg home run parlay or some stupid thing. It could hit, guy could win, but it's just like guessing when the guy wins, right? Because it's much easier for just from watching baseball, right? So these games, like most games, 1-0, 2-1, 5-1, whatever, low scoring games, and then one game per day, like 25-8 or something, And it's just how many people do you have from the 25? That's why stacking is so important in baseball, is because it won, like we got what, 9 games in this last slate? Yeah, that's why it was such a good comp. That's why it's great to look back to the slate. It's the exact same size and is it distribution of games? No, we have more standalone late games. So I would say for tonight's slate, probably see with what you can do with 1,000. Don't leave 2,000. It's a bit much for tonight's slate. Maybe even 500 for the late swap because we've got so many options here for the late swap. You got the Angels game, you got the Houston game, you got the Dodgers game, all of which you should have significant exposure to, right? Like I'm assuming, yeah, I got like a reasonable amount of lots of these late game pitchers, stacks. So you need to be swapping and being intentional with your swapping. Ooh, Odds-Ball Cabrera. Yikes, don't know if I have enough of him. Probably wanted Littell to do a little better there. Okay, I'll stop talking your ear off about that. So let me see if I got anything else to say about this slate. Stacks, pitchers. Pitchers, what are my biggest faded pitchers? Let me make sure I'm happy with that. My biggest, I told you the stands, but the fades. Because you got to make sure you're intentionally considering both the guys you're taking and as a result of the guys you're taking or other changes you've made, the guys you're fading. Make sure you've considered both parts of that because sometimes I don't, and it's a mistake. All right, so Bryce Miller, these are pretty good pitchers, right? I don't know about this. They're overowned. I'm okay with these. So Miller, Ober, and Houck. If you like them, don't take them out of your lineup. But I will say the chance of there being optimal being like double digits percent, I don't know. I think they're hovering. We got a lot of similar looking pitchers to me after the top guys. To me, these top guys make a lot of sense. Stand out. Greene, Ragans, Reynaldo, Lopez, Arrighetti, even. I think all those guys justify 20-25%. But that doesn't leave much. I don't see much meat on the bone for the other guys, right? Okay, so I guess there's 2 spots. So that means between all these other guys who are really similar looking, Fetty needs to be on here, right? Why do I not have Fetty? He must have been announced late or something, but Fetty's fine. I'm popping him in the mix for next round of. I'm going to rerun this obviously several times. But Fetty's in the mix, and so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm saying we got 8 guys that are in the next tier, right? So they're splitting the next 100. So how are you? Was it 12.5%? So I don't think anybody who's in the upper teens of that, who's getting to like 20% for Miller or 20%, 15% Houck, that's just high. I mean, they could get there, but that's just a little bit like you're flipping coin. You're like, there's slightly better name recognition, maybe a little tinge of a better average by like 0.5 points, but it's not a level change. It's not, to me, I don't think so. And I mean, who, ooh, is he pitching in Colorado? No, no, no. Yeah, I'm gonna just, what are we doing there? I'm not a 14% pitcher in Colorado. All right. You know what? In 170 lineups, I'm gonna have 0, and I'm gonna if I get beat that way, hey, great job, guys. Challenge me to a head-to-head if you win that way tonight. Also, don't do that because I'm not going to play cash. I'm not going to accept your head-to-head. I don't even look at them. So I say challenge me as a head-to-head because I see other people do that. It's a fun statement, but mostly I just mean it's such a fish play. Are you kidding me? They're really going to play a guy pitching in Colorado at 14%? Not me. Can't be me. I'm a 0% guy at that level. We got so many other options tonight. I was just yammering about it. I mean, like, honestly, I'd rather play as a bunch of these other guys. River Reagan, freaking Hogan Harris. I'd pop a bunch of other people in here before I'm popping Houck back in here at 14%. Get out of town. All right. All right. Cooling down. That's what I get. That's what I get for checking out my fades. You thought I'd be like, oh man, well, I'm fading that guy. I need to maybe lessen my fade, but instead, I'm like, man, throw that guy in the trash can, man. What am I doing? How do I even have any of that guy? Okay, that's the only guy I feel that way about though. And I mean, it's not that Hook's a bad pitcher. It's just a tough environment, and it's not a good one for him. And I do not see the upside. Like, what are we doing for his game sims? I don't see the upside ones. This is absurd. No, not absolutely not. No chance that there is a 5 to 10% chance of a Clayton Kershaw frickin' perfect game type performance today. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? Anyway, so anytime I see the game sims not coming up the way I want, that's not the type of game sim that I want to sim. You know what I mean? So out of balance. But some of these, I might take a dart. Hogan Harris at 2.5%. Yeah, that's close. I mean, like, Houston's bad. Yeah, I got him on a green. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pop him in there. I'm running 170 lineups. I can take like a smidge. I don't want to have like an outrageous amount, but like a smidge of Hogan Harris, like 5 times the field of Hogan Harris is fine. Anybody else? I've eliminated Houck. I mean, part of me wants to run Ranger out there. I feel like he's still got those games in him. I assume he's been doing really bad. I haven't been paying that much attention. But for him to be priced like this and with this expectation, I don't think Yilber's getting the length that you need. And Casey's pretty good. I wouldn't recommend that. And Colorado's at home, or else if this was away, you could consider Gomber. All right, so that's my pitcher takes. Apply. Why are there so few pitchers now? Oh, this is my leverage, right? Sorted by leverage. So everybody else is a positive leverage pitcher because they're on my team. All right, great. So we cracked the case, and yeah, that's all I got for now. We'll probably do these shows roughly. I'll probably do it this week, Monday and Wednesday, and be back about the same next week. Maybe not. We'll see. It's like up in the air. I'm going on Cousins weekend to Oklahoma this weekend, so won't be there this weekend. But remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough, and gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. Might as well be us. Sometimes it is in Sims. Sometimes it isn't in golf.